This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm your host, Jen Largis. On today's show, make your kitchen smarter, faster, and more fun with Hedley and Bennett founder Ellen Marie Bennett's chef-tested tips.
I like to think with zones. So prep, cook, serve, store, clean. These are 5 core stations that every kitchen should have.
It took Grant Johnson 30 years to carve his home by hand into a solid rock. And now you can stay there too.
I've always said this will last so long they won't even know who did it, why it's here, you know? It's about man's place in nature.
There's a lot of buzz around beekeeping these days. Ariel Silva breaks down what you need to know and how to get started in your own backyard. All of this, plus we're answering your home improvement questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up right after the news. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. We're starting in the kitchen today with chef and Hedley and Bennett founder Ellen Marie Bennett. She's got easy, practical tips to help you make the most of the space you already have. No renovation required. She joins us now to tell us how we can make the most of our kitchens and make them more efficient. Ellen, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me.
So one of the most important things that you mention is that kitchens are designed by builders who do not cook. So what are some signs that your home was maybe designed and built by someone who does not cook and could have done things differently?
So many things. Let me pull out my scroll. I would say shallow cabinets. It's a disaster. If your plates don't fit and you've got 10 inches versus, a good 14 inches of depth, it's really challenging because nothing fits in there. Also, unadjustable shelves. There's a lot of kitchens I've seen that have very intricate, charming, with giant air quotes, mini cabinets where you're like, oh, that's so cute. Maybe for a dollhouse. If you can't even fit an olive oil bottle in your cabinet because it's too short, there's a problem. And when something has very specific use, that's a disaster for future cooks because you need universal space in your cabinets. You need something that you can fit an olive oil bottle in one cabinet or on the other side. And you want to be able to move stuff around and not have it be only for your grandma's china. That's the only thing that fits in that one cabinet.
Appetizer plates.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, who invented this? I don't understand what's happening.
Well, and being able to customize them after the fact, because as your needs change or your cooking skills change, the way you move around your kitchen, I'm sure you're going to want to either purchase different items or you're going to want to move things around. So what are your organizational tips and tricks for the kitchen?
So I like to think with zones. In cooking, you can break it down to the prep, measuring cups and spoons and peelers, things of that nature. That should all live in the same place in your kitchen. I call that prep zone. Then there's the cook zone. It's all things, spices, your pots and pans, your ladles, your spatulas, things to actually cook the food. Then you have the serve zone. That's all your plates, your platters, utensils, napkins. You put these next to each other. So it's like prep, cook, serve.
So you're moving through stations.
Exactly. These are literally your cooking stations in a restaurant. And then your store would be all things like aluminum foil, containers, and then clean, right? Obviously the sink. So prep, cook, serve, store, clean. These are 5 core stations that every kitchen should have at home. And if you create these spaces, it will be so much easier for people coming in and floating through your kitchen, let's say your mother-in-law or a friend.
You look at the kitchen space through the perspective as a chef. What are some chef systems that home cooks should incorporate for a better functioning kitchen?
If you have a cooking station, you're already on the right track. Second one, label everything. If you're putting things in the fridge, put the label, put a date when it went in and when it comes out, right? So this is going to last 3 days or used by Friday.
I need to do that.
Yeah, no, it really helps. And then another one that's just deeply nerdy, FIFO, first in, first out. So if you buy, let's say, 2 jars of yogurt, put the one that's halfway used to the front of the fridge and then the one behind it that's brand new. That way you don't have 2 half-used yogurt bottles. It's a great way to save on food and be more sustainable in your home. Think like a chef. If you have really great ingredients, you will have a much better experience cooking because you can't really mess it up when you have amazing olive oil, salt, pepper, vinegar.
Yep. What advice do you have for listeners who wish they had a bigger kitchen?
Go up your walls. Love going up a wall. Definitely taking pans out of drawers, maximizing what you put in drawers, right? So something I find a lot on our show is people will have an entire drawer filled with plastic bags from the grocery store. And they're like, we have no space. And they have 2,000 bags jammed into a little 1 foot by 1 foot drawer. And I'm like, okay, well, first things first, we're going to get rid of these because you do not need these in your life. Start with a purge. Take everything out of every cabinet. I know it might feel overwhelming, but when you are done, you are going to thank this crazy lady on the radio telling you right now to purge your kitchen. Do you remember those zones we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
Just group all your stuff into those areas, and then you're going to go through it and really have a conversation with yourself. Do I need this or do I not? Is it bringing me joy? Like channel your Marie Kondo. What I like to leave in the kitchen is things I'm using every single day, all the time.
That's great advice. I think we could do that in every room and it would be helpful. So for people who can't afford a grand renovation or maybe they rent, what are some practical ways they can give their kitchen space a makeover?
So definitely buying inserts for your drawers is a tremendous come up in the land of kitchens. So I love drawer dividers. They're literally little strips of wood and they fit into the drawer. They're the same color as the drawer. So it actually looks very customized. I like to split up my tool drawers with that so I can put all of my whisks, spoons, ladles, etc. separated. For the food storage container drawer, definitely recommend that because you can put all of the glass containers on one side, the lids next to it. If you can see it, you can use it. And if you don't see it, you probably won't use it. So give yourself a decent spice drawer. You just need really nice matching jars. That is a great way to make your spice drawer feel and look awesome. There's these little wooden inserts that look like stair steppers. You lay them into the drawer, and then your spices are elevated up at a slight angle so you can see all of them. And then my ultimate type A hack that I'm just like obsessed with is to put all the stickers at the same height across the jars. That way your eye line just reads left to right instead of up and down. And yes, that's very nerdy, but it works. I promise it just reads so much better.
So we like to end every episode with something called a simple fix, where an expert tells our listener one thing that can make the job easier. Do you have a simple fix you could share with us?
I think every great kitchen needs great tools. So you want to start with a really sharp knife. Buy things that will last a long time. Invest in a good Dutch oven. Get a great cast iron skillet and just keep it seasoned. These are things that you will have forever and then you can pass on to your kids. It's the long game in the kitchen. Play the long game.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us. This has been incredibly enlightening. I love hearing from a chef's perspective the way you would design a kitchen.
Yay! Thank you for having me and embracing my nerdiness.
That was Ellen Marie Bennett. Her show, The Kitchen Glow Up, is streaming on Tastemade. You're listening to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Dora Lee.
And Dora, where are you calling from?
Calling from Los Alamitos, California.
And what's your question today?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. So I have about a 25-year-old home. It's not too old, but I'm noticing that the drywall on my ceiling, I'm starting to see the outline of it, of the drywall. And it's kind of starting to get worse. Like I started seeing a little line, and now the line is creeping up, and I even see like a what looks like the impression of a nail starting to come down. So this is one of those where I don't know who to call. So I was just calling to see if I can get some advice.
Yeah, you want to get to the root cause. Absolutely. Well, we've got Ross Trithui, the building engineer for This Old House, and Zach Detmore, a building contractor for the show, both on the line.
Cool.
Hey, Dora, Zach Detmore here.
Hey.
Hey, Dora. Ross here.
How are you? Hi.
So, Ross, what do you think is going on?
So it sounds like you're saying the drywall outline is, so are you talking about like the 4x8 sheets of drywall at the seams where two pieces of drywall are meeting or coming through?
Yes, on my ceiling. Yep. And I can start to see the outline of the 4x8. So of course, since it's in my bedroom, I don't want it to fall on me. And there's nothing in my attic other than my HVAC unit, which is probably about 15 feet away from where that drywall is.
You need some investigation here.
I know.
Zach, you got any thoughts?
Well, I'd say 25 years ago is when people were switching from drywall nails to drywall screws. So I'm not sure if this is drywall that's nailed up or screwed up, but nail pops are pretty common. Okay. What do you think, Ross? Is there something else at play here?
No, I mean, it sounds like that's probably it. I would be curious if it was nails versus screws. But the other thing, too, you mentioned the HVAC unit. I always get concerned about that and making sure that's not, at play here, where could there be any, condensation forming on any ductwork that's dripping down on that piece.
The HVAC was just replaced a year ago, and this was about when I started to see a little bit of that showing through.
Oh, I know what happened.
Ooh.
You know what this is, Ross? I know what this is. I think someone stepped on it or knelt on it or dropped something and kicked off this problem. And then it's getting worse.
Oh, no.
I could be wrong. But if someone was up there, it was fine for 20-something years, and then someone was up there spending some time with your HVAC system, I bet they knelt on it.
I think you're right.
We fall through ceilings all the time. We just don't tell people about it.
It sounds very interesting that the HVAC system was just replaced and all of a sudden you notice this issue. So that seems like some type of correlation there.
Can I call them to take a look, or do you think that they'd even acknowledge that they could have caused it?
100% they won't take responsibility for this. Guaranteed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, forget about that.
And they say altruism is dead.
They'll be like, who is this?
Okay.
No, we don't have your number in our line.
The fact that it went 25 years without any issue, and then this one piece of 4x8 is showing, something going on that's different than the rest of the ceiling, that makes me think it is localized to that one spot.
All right. Well, that's good. It's not a huge problem.
So who you need to call is a painter, and you tell them, we want this ceiling painted and fixed. And they will, painters can take care of smaller repairs like that, and they'll make it look beautiful. And then you'll have this nice, clean ceiling, and you'll say, wow, I didn't realize how dirty that ceiling was. Now it looks so much better.
Thank you, guys. That's so helpful. I appreciate it.
No problem. Cool. Good luck. Don't call that HVAC company again. Okay.
HVACs have gotten so expensive, and they were the cheapest I could find. So
there's a reason.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Thank you so much for taking my call. I appreciate it.
No problem. Get the most expensive painter you can find.
After the break, our experts answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Stay tuned. This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Before we get back to your calls, we're opening up the phone lines and playing House Rules. This is a game where we test your knowledge of common DIY and home improvement procedures. No lifelines, no second chances, just you, your instincts, and a shot at glory. Hello, you're on House Rules.
Okay, this is Randy Miller. I'm from Milan, Tennessee.
Randy, we're so glad you called. Tell us, how handy are you around the house?
Oh, I'm pretty handy. I'm not a professional, but I'm pretty handy.
All right, well, this should be a breeze. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 2 multiple-choice home improvement questions. If you miss the first one, the game is over. If you get it right, you move on to question number 2. Answer both correctly, and you win the ultimate prize, a custom voicemail recording from This Old House's very own Richard Trethewey. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Randy, let's play House Rules. Here's your first question. When should you not use pressure-treated lumber? Is it A, gardening areas, B, building a fence, C, building a deck?
Gardening areas?
You chose A, gardening areas. To get the right answer, we asked Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, and this was his answer.
The correct answer is gardening areas, because pressure-treated lumber sometimes has chemicals in it, such as copper, and you may not want those chemicals released into the soil, especially if you're cultivating vegetables there.
So that means you're moving on to question 2. Here is your final question. How many BTUs are in a ton? Is it A, 1,000, B, 1,200, or C, 12,000? All right, Randy, what's your answer?
I'm going to say C.
You chose C, 12,000. To get the right answer, we asked Richard Trethewey, the show's plumbing expert.
The correct answer is 12,000. And this goes back to the time when they measured how much heat it took to melt a ton of ice. And so that number became 12,000. So if you had a 3-ton system, you would take 3 tons times 12 is 36,000 BTUs. So if you're looking at a condensing unit or whatever, use 12 as the divisor to figure out how many tons the system is.
And Randy, that means you got both questions right. How do you feel?
Oh, great.
That means you are this week's House Rules champion. Richard Trethewey is standing by, ready to record a brand new custom voicemail. You just let him know what you wanted to say, and it's all yours.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for playing House Rules.
All right, thank you.
Want to be on House Rules? It's easy. Call our hotline at 877-864-7460 and leave us a message saying, I want to be on House Rules, along with your name, where you're from, your phone number, and a good time to call you back. Or send us an email at questions@thisoldhouse.com with that same info. We'd love to have you on the show. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, Jen. This is Joe Castellucci from Marlboro, New Jersey.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for calling in. What's your question today?
So I have a woodpecker who's pecking at my wood shakes in the front of my house. I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, well, that's a pesky problem.
Yeah, to say the least.
To say the least. We have on the line Charlie Silva, a builder for the show, and Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show. Zach, we've heard this before, woodpecker.
I have seen this. I'm not too far from you in Jersey, and
yeah, I saw you on TV.
I don't have a great solution. I have heard, and I'll throw this to Charlie, but I've heard deterrents work well, like moving objects, wind chimes, creating nesting boxes, for example, where maybe there's like an easier place for them to peck that's not your siding. But I would say the fastest thing is just, rip all your siding off and go up with fiber cement or asbestos siding. They're no problem. That's a surefire method.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Charlie?
Right. Might not be the cheapest, but yes.
You don't need a budget for that.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not the cheapest. I had new shakes put on about 10 years ago, and I had good shakes put up. And doing some research online, I did see that they said the probable cause is that the woodpecker has detected insects behind the shakes. And that's why they're pecking, to get to those insects.
All right. I'm gonna say that it's not insects. I mean, it could be, but I doubt it.
No.
So
Okay.
I've actually had this happen, and it was one of the woodpeckers, I forget which one, if it was the male or the female, putting a scent on the siding for mating. So you obviously have a very good-looking house. But that's what it's from.
You fell in love with it.
And I built a new house probably, I think it was 2001, and all cedar shingles. Probably 2 years after we built it, they called me, woodpeckers on the side of the house, destroyed about a 1 foot square area, something like that. So we repaired it. The exact same spot, came back and did it again. And it wasn't insects. It was, and then so what I did was I took a can of, you could use something else, but I had bee spray with me, and I sprayed bee spray on the siding. Not the best for the finish, but it does kill the scent. Then I think if I remember right, back then we let it set for, I don't know, a month or 2 or 3, whatever it was. Then I repaired it, and nothing ever came back. So I believe that's probably what your problem is. And if you do spray something on your house, it will stain it. So just keep that in mind to try to keep it to the area. But true story, though. I mean, I actually have seen it in other houses that I haven't done, and people say, I got woodpeckers, and I tell them to try that.
I've never heard that before.
I wish I would have heard that 10 years ago. We had a woodpecker problem when we lived in Massachusetts, but we had the long, he was ruining a lot of our house.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes back then on a house where the clapboards were bad, it was because of insects. But this one here that I did, I knew it wasn't full of ants. We just, built the house. And
So I've stained the front shakes to a darker color. It's turning darker after a few years. Is bee spray the same as wasp spray?
I'm sure it is, but I mean, you don't even have to use that. I mean, you could use something else. And once again, look it up online for what I just said. Search what I said about the, putting the scent on the house and so forth. And there might be something better, but I had bee spray with me and I tried that.
Okay, Charlie.
All right.
I'll give it a try because, I mean, this crazy woodpecker first started pecking at the leaders and gutters, the aluminum, and it sounded like a machine gun going
Oh, no.
And then he went to the wood.
Yeah.
You could always adopt yourself a bald eagle.
That's right.
Oh, God.
Rent an eagle.
I only wish. Okay, I'm gonna give your recommendation a try.
All right. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Thanks.
Okay.
Right now, we're answering your questions at 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
This is Josh Schaefer, Port Angeles, Washington. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
And what's your question today?
Well, my wife and I are replacing our front door with a vintage Victorian-style door, and it's quite a bit thicker than the door that we're replacing, about 3/8 or maybe even half an inch. And it'll just stick proud of the door jamb. And I'm wondering if there's pretty good solutions, easy, complicated, no worries about that. But wondering if you have any ideas for me.
All right. Well, to help with this question, we have Zach Detmore, a contractor for This Old House, on the line.
Hey, Josh, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, Zach?
I'm very good. I'm excited about this door question. I love a good old door story.
Yeah, this door has seen some days for sure. It's pretty old.
For anybody listening, can you explain the different parts of the door just to give us a frame of reference here on which pieces you're referring to?
Sure. So you've got the door itself, right? And then typically one side has hinges on it when you receive it. But then the jamb, the piece that the hinges connect to and that the latch hardware would connect to, that the door is sitting within. And then you have the sill on the bottom, which is sort of what you step on as you walk through the door. And typically with an exterior door, all four sides are connected. So you have like a four-sided jamb that goes into an opening, whereas with an interior door, you would just have the two jamb legs on the side and then the piece on the top because the floor would travel through. So that's sort of the crucial difference there. You said it doesn't fit in the jamb. Do you know if the jamb you have on your house, is it like relatively new? Is it perhaps like a pre-hung with weather stripping integrated? What's sort of the situation there?
It is not weather stripping integrated, and I don't know if the door is original to the jamb. The jamb is all wood, all the way around, all four sides, and it's all one piece, if that makes sense. Like the door notch was cut out of the one-piece door jamb.
Okay, so with any door, including an old door, typically, the dimensions aren't going to be exactly correct, and you really need them to be correct on the height because you want to put some sort of gasket around this whole door, if that makes sense.
Oh, I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want it to be the right height, and oftentimes when I get an old door, they're a little bit bigger, which kind of works in your favor because then you can kind of square it up and put a bevel on one side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you actually need to do is build a new jamb, and that will allow you to basically have a brand new pre-hung door. You'll just have this old door inside of it, which, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of work. Yeah, the nice thing about it is if you have... Oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
And if somebody's shopping for an old door, you said sometimes it does help for it to be slightly larger so that you can square it up, cut it down to size.
Yeah. I would say whenever you're looking, try and target a door with wide stiles and rails, and those terms refer to the sides of a door, sort of that run up and down are called stiles, and the horizontal sections at the top and the bottom, maybe in the middle, are called the rails. But you want those to be beefy enough that if you were to trim them, it wouldn't look like the doorknob was sitting on this very tiny piece of wood. So you want something that's pretty beefy, and it gives you that sleight of hand to sort of trim it down, because almost always the door will have sort of warped or bowed, and it's just nice to square it up. Typically, they're not stored maybe in an area that's conditioned, or maybe it got a little wet on the bottom. So it just allows you, it's much quicker to like just run a saw up the two sides and square it up rather than trying to sand it to make it perfect, which would just take forever. But yeah, I would say, Josh, make yourself a new jamb, and you can basically hang that door in the jamb. The nice thing is because you're making it new, you can reuse the existing hinge mortises. You can kind of line up where the lock set that's already on the door, if it has one, lines up. And then you can do all this preparatory work before you remove your existing front door. And then hopefully it's sort of a pop it out, pop it in, do it all on a Saturday type of activity. And then maybe you're just trimming and casing the next day.
Well, this is a great idea, Zach. Thank you so much. I never even considered making a new door jamb. I thought I was going to be building a router and trying to do it while it's up on the wall. This is perfect.
You could do it that way, but you'll hate your life if you try it that way. It's very difficult.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
All right. Well, best of luck with it, Josh. I love this idea. Send us pictures when it's done.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Jen.
Yep. Thank you. Call us now to have your home improvement or DIY question answered. 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Mary Zawoski from Crescent, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Mary. What are you calling in for today?
My neighbor's house, which is about 150 feet away, exploded, and it affected my home. So the windows blew in, the doors were damaged. But my one question today is about the grout in between the bricks. Because when the structural engineer came, they found something that I probably wouldn't have even noticed, which is a very tiny crack about 3 feet wide on one section of the bricks, and another section has about like maybe a foot of this tiny crack, and they want to take all the bricks off the front of the house and redo them. So I just was curious, about that. Is that necessary, and what would you suggest?
Well, first, our condolences. We're very sorry. That's a devastating story. To help answer your question, we have the show's Mason Mark McCullough here on the line, and also general contractor Zach Detmore.
Hi,
nice
Mary.
Nice to meet you all.
Yep. How you doing, Mary? This is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
So that's actually a tough one for me without, being able to physically take a look at it. But again, I understand the whole thing. And to answer your question directly, the mortar can sometimes be repaired. You would get a grinder or a chisel and take at least 3/4 or an inch out of that mortar bed and redo it. Taking the entire facade down is dramatic, but I know when engineers get involved, they're definitely looking at other things. And as you said, some things that you may not be able to see with your eyes. So I would tend to think if they're leaning towards that method, I would go with it, and I would definitely check to make sure it's covered under insurance, because if not, then it's going to be quite costly, and that's when maybe you get a second opinion and investigate to see if the mortar, if that's a viable option, taking the mortar out and replacing it. But
okay, well, very good. Thank you. I really appreciate your opinion on this.
Okay.
And I think the insurance is going to cover it, so that part is really good.
So, Mary, if that's the case, then I'm all about getting new. Again, there are certain things that we won't be able to see, and if they're gonna allow for new, I would go that way. And Zach, I don't know if you have a different opinion on that or not, but.
Hey, Mary, Zach here. I was just going to sort of ask you a question, Mark. How, normally when you see brick cracking or masonry cracking, we think of movement, settling, freezing. But because this was an impact that was sort of an event that happened but is now concluded, does that sort of change the way you would normally repair something? Because it's not something that's continuing to get worse. It was just sort of an event. Does that change the approach from what we would normally see?
The reason I would kind of go back to the engineer's report and the insurance part of it is because when there's an explosion, the brick are pushed in, and you can't necessarily see all the damage because there's a gap between the substrate, which we'll call it plywood, and the face of the brick. So there's enough room there for that brick, if you will, to be punched in. And you may not see all the damage on the face side, but where the brick is pushed in, the backside and the mortar might be dislodged, and that's going to be your problem.
So good to hear all of this good advice. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Good luck.
After the break, step inside Grant Johnson's mind-blowing Utah cave home, hand-built with love and a whole lot of dynamite. Also, there's a lot of buzz around beekeeping these days. Ariel Silva breaks down the basics to help you start your own hive at home. That's coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Coming up, Ariel Silva, the beekeeper with over 1 million followers on TikTok, tells you how to start beekeeping in your own yard, even if you live in a city. But first, we head to the Red Rock Canyons of Utah, where a former miner in search of solitude carved his dream into stone. With dynamite, patience, and decades of devotion, Grant Johnson shaped the mountain into a home, an off-grid sanctuary etched from the earth itself.
I'm Grant Johnson, and this is my old house that I blasted out of the rock. When I first bought this place, it was complete desert. It was just sand dunes, and this rock that the house is in stood like a pyramid in the sand, by itself. I bought the property in 1980 and started irrigating and planting trees and turning it from desert into an oasis that it is today. Now we grow a lot of food. We produce our own power. We raise animals. We have a bunch of horses that we pack. Just a whole complete lifestyle here. Well, I was driving back from Moab one day and went to Hole in the Rock, which is a tourist stop. And I walked in there, and a guy had blasted out about 5,000 square feet. It felt so good in there inside the rock. After I saw that place, I looked at the rock here and just went, wow, this is better than his rock. It's the best ever because it's like 120 feet in diameter. It's about 60 feet tall, and it's a dome. By 95, I decided I was going to blast the house. I never thought I would because even though I knew how to do it, because I'd been a miner, a uranium miner, I never thought I could afford all the equipment. In 79, the price of uranium ore went down and all the mines shut down around here in southern Utah. So I found a guy that had a ton of equipment on his farmland, and he sold me whatever I needed and threw in free stuff, and I just started hollowing out from the south side. I pushed a tunnel into the rock, so when I mined it out and hollowed out the space, then I began to carve it, and I developed another technique of blasting. I did a post split that I developed, and it's where you drill parallel holes and big arches, and then you put primer cord, which is like an exploding rope, in and out of every single hole, and then blast it. And when it goes off, that cord cracks it from hole to hole and creates a really pretty break. I blasted out 5,700 square feet. The fun part was shaping it. I did it, just step at a time, like through 8 winters. I had a plan for the rock where I knew I wanted a big south-facing living room, which turned out to be the jam room. We make music in there. The north room is a living room facing the mountain up high with more of a constricted opening to protect us from the north wind. I knew I wanted that kitchen to the east, the west end have bedrooms, and then another opening on the south for the master bedroom. The south openings flare out and collect the sun really nicely and warms the whole place up. It has 2 north openings, 2 south openings, an east and a west. That's why I got so lucky that it's a standalone rock. You can pop out every side. The air goes through it, the light. We have a lot of light in here. One thing I wasn't prepared for is how good it feels inside the rock. I think part of it is the way I shaped it. Like the ceilings are arched, the walls are curved outward. It's very curvy in here and sculpted. It just has a nice feeling about it. I finished it in 2013, but I noticed when people walk in here, they look around and look up and just say, wow, this is incredible. And then it brings out feelings in people, like sometimes spiritual feelings, and just depends on where your head's at. It enhances your feeling of solitude out here and the quietness of the place. And the house is connected to that. The house is like being in nature. So this is like a petrified sand dune we're in. The sand in this rock started out in the Adirondacks, an ancient mountain range in the east, float in a river all the way to where Oregon is now, and was deposited in a big flat of sand. And then the wind picked up all that sand and moved it to Utah area, the Four Corners area, Colorado Plateau. And it's like the biggest sand pile, they say, in the history of the earth that they know about. When you enter the house, you walk in, usually the kitchen. You walk up a rock ramp and stairway kind of combination. So you walk from the kitchen into the living room, you step up a couple steps, and the living room is maybe 30 by 25. And it just feels like a cubby hole. It feels really good. The biggest room, it's called the jam room. As far as it has a big high ceiling, and we play music in there. The sound is really good. Voices sound really good here. Voices, violins, harmonica. We've had a lot of music in here, and it's random people coming in. When we're playing music, that's my favorite room. If people come here in the distant future, I've always said this will last so long they won't even know who did it, why it's here, you know? It will last so long. It's about man's place in nature. We are in this beautiful canyon, the creek full of trout and all sorts of animals, and we've irrigated it, planted orchard, grow crops, and enhanced the water table so there's a lot more groundwater, and there's just way more life than there ever was. These trees are just full of birds, a lot of orioles too, a lot of really pretty birds. I just hope to be representing one way that man can integrate with nature. You know, we're growing our food, we're using the water from the creek, and living comfortably, not having a lot of impact, hopefully, even though, you know, we burn gas like everybody. You know, we're all a part of man's impact on the planet. I just hope we can be an inspiration for integrating with nature. And one of the problems, I think, is man's separation from nature. We've separated so much we don't even know we're a part of it anymore. But I think in the immediate sense, people walk into this house and are just blown away. And then after spending the night climbing on the roof and looking at the stars, it really awakens people to just a deeper sense of what nature is about. It's more important than our world that we get so focused on.
That was Grant Johnson. If you want to spend a night at the Cave House, it's currently listed on Airbnb. At this old house, no project is too big or too small for us to handle. However, some jobs require a specialist that is the best at what they do. Today, we're going to learn how to maintain a bee colony and find out how you can start beekeeping wherever you call home. Joining us today is Ariel Silva, better known online as Bowser Bee. Since 2012, Ariel has been sharing his expertise and raising awareness about the vital role bees play in our ecosystem. Ariel, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let's dive in. Can anyone become a beekeeper?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, it does require some dedication and learning, but there's no formal education requirements or degree to keep bees. Like me, I didn't grow up around bees. It wasn't something I planned on doing. It just kind of happened.
So you say anyone can be a beekeeper. What if you live in a city? Is this specific to any one kind of landscape?
Urban beekeeping is actually thriving in a lot of places. Bees actually don't care if they're surrounded by skyscrapers or here cornfields. As long as there's enough blooming plants around, they can live anywhere. That said, city beekeeping does come with some extra responsibilities. You have to be extra mindful of your neighbors.
Yep.
And follow your local beekeeping laws. You want to make sure you can even have bees where you live. Because in some places, it's actually illegal to keep bees. So before
Where do you find these beekeeping laws? Never heard of this.
The best way to do this is to go through your local beekeeping association. Every state has one. And so what they'll do is they'll help you find your local laws. Those can be very strict. So the last thing you want to end up with is fines just for having a couple of bees. You want to make sure you're allowed to keep bees, especially if you live in like a subdivision or somewhere with an HOA.
Yep. And how much space do you need to do this?
You actually don't need a ton of space. So if you think about it, a single hive takes about maybe 2 to 5 square feet. And ideally, you want about 3 to 5 feet around it, just so you're comfortable and have room to inspect your hive.
Yep.
So a small yard or even a rooftop can work. The key is to place your hive at a sunny spot with good airflow and make sure there's a clear flight path for the bees to come in and out.
And where do you think bees and hives thrive best?
The cool thing about honeybees is that they can thrive pretty much anywhere in the world. They've adapted to live in all kinds of environments, as long as there's enough flowers for them to forage on. So, help your bees thrive, I recommend taking a look at your land. Like, really assess your environment because your bees are going to be hungry. So, your number one goal should be to make sure they have enough food. And one of the best ways that you can do is create a pollinator friendly environment. So it's important to know that not all flowers bloom at the same time. Some are early bloomers, some pop in midsummer, and some in the fall. So as a beekeeper, you want to have blooms throughout the whole foraging season. That way, your bees always have access to nectar and pollen.
Okay. So, Ariel, if I wanted to buy or build a beehive, what does that construction or setup look like?
The size of a beehive really depends on your location. So for me, I live in the Midwest. So we start off with 2 bottom boxes. These are called the brood chambers. This is where the queen lives. This is where she lays her eggs, and her daughters will store their honey and pollen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when those 2 boxes are filled, you can start adding honey supers, which are smaller boxes. Now, depending on how much nectar and pollen you have available in your area, you can keep stacking as many boxes as you can. So it just really depends on how much honey they're bringing in. Now, in order for the queen not to go into your honey supers, because you don't want any baby bees in with the honey you harvest, we add this thing called a queen excluder. It's this grid that's just the right size that prevents the queen from entering the upper boxes. Mm-hmm. So she stays at the bottom with all the baby bees being raised and the honey and pollen that they keep. We don't touch that. But once those are full, we can start adding the honey supers. And that's the surplus honey that we can harvest.
Should you have anything near the colony, whether it's plants, flowers, maybe something like compost?
The main thing that I learned, just knowing that my bees are going to be very hungry, mm-hmm. and knowing that, okay, I need to set up flowers to bloom that entire time that they're foraging.
Yeah.
For me, beekeeping also completely changed how I saw my own backyard. I stopped spraying. I started seeing dandelions and clovers not as weeds, but as food for my bees. I even let part of my yard grow wild. Like, I just stopped mowing it. And over time, I just watched this whole little prairie bloom. So that's something a lot of people don't expect from beekeeping. Mm-hmm. Makes you a better steward of the land. Yeah.
Okay, this is maybe a silly question, but how do you harvest the honey?
Oh, yes. So we have a honey extractor. It's this big metal cylinder where you take the honey frames and you just spin them. Oh, and it just releases the honey from the honeycomb cells, and it gathers at the bottom, and then you can just put a jar at the bottom and fill it up with honey.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how much honey did you produce in your first year?
So that first year, let's see, like about 150 pounds from one hive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So like I said,
instant success.
It was wild. Because you don't think about trees blooming millions of flowers. Because usually when you're doing your garden, you can only see one individual plant.
Yep.
But look up and look at these trees. They're producing so many flowers. So with all these linden trees in my area, they were so easy to just store their honey. And yeah.
It takes me a very long time to go through a bottle of honey. So I think I could go with the minimum and still have plenty.
Oh, and the really cool thing about honey, it just never expires. So you can keep that forever. You don't have to eat it right away. So yeah.
So would you say beekeeping is safe?
For the most part, it is safe if you respect your bees. It's important to determine if you or anyone around your bees are allergic to bee stings. Mm-hmm. For some people, a bee sting can be life-threatening. In general, bees are usually only defensive when they feel threatened or provoked. Mm-hmm. But to be completely safe, I do recommend a bee suit that covers you head to toe.
Yep.
Another safety precaution is using a smoker. It's basically a tool that uses smoke to help calm your bees. because bees communicate through pheromones, and if they do feel threatened, they'll release this alarm pheromone that tells the whole colony to attack. That's where the smoker comes in handy. Just a few puffs of smoke helps mask that scent, and it calms them down, so you can inspect your hive without having a swarm of bees trying to sting you.
That would be preferable. How many times have you been stung?
Not as much as you'd think. So far this year, no stings.
Wow. I'm ready to get bees.
You should. It's so much fun.
This has been really informative. We're glad to have been able to speak with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That was Ariel Silva. His book, Beekeeping, Explore the Marvelous World of Honeybees, is available wherever books are sold. You can also follow him on social media at Bowser Bee for instant tips about all things beekeeping. We're nearly at the end of the show, which means it's time for the Simple Fix.
Hi, Jen. It's Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, and this is my Simple Fix. Looking to get extra rich color when you're staining your wood? My Simple Fix is to use tap water. That will open up all the pores of the wood. Once that water evaporates, you're ready to apply that stain over the wood, and you'll notice that it gets a much more rich and dark color.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.